Hi everybody.
Hello, I'm Ryan.
I'm Bethany.
And we are Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews.
And today we'll be talking about Zoom in Barcelona, and this is put out by Susafera Games.
Alright, so in this game...
No. You guys have to subscribe. Okay, now you can carry on.
Thank you. Okay, so in Zoom in Barcelona, first of all, you are traveling all over the city of Barcelona. You're zooming from place to place, trying to get the best pictures. And of course, you're zooming in your camera to get those best pictures. There's all these really pretty cards, all different architecture and landscapes all over Barcelona. You're taking these pictures. You're trying to collect these different skyline buildings, pictures all throughout the day and night. Let me show you what it looks like on the table. Give you a quick snapshot of the game.
I just can't.
All right, here is our board setup for Zoom in Barcelona. So this is basically a map of Barcelona. We've got our little pawn here. We've got a camera that tells us our starting place. So we've got our little boat there that matches our little boat there. We're going to be traveling all over the board. We're going to be taking pictures of all different landmarks and landscapes, as well as trying to collect these tokens that represent the skyline of Barcelona. So we're going to start by having some pictures out here. These are all different places that you can go on the board. The flag at the top left of the card indicates which region of the board it's on. So for instance, this one here has that kind of the purple star that indicates it's going to be somewhere in that region. In a 5 or a 6 player game, you'd also have one all the way up here. But those are all worth 3 points apiece if you're able to get those pictures. And there's also these tiles over here that are some extra bonus points that you can get. So, you randomly shuffle one up, and let's put one out here. Let's say there's trees and the word casa. So if any of these pictures have a tree in them, for instance, like that one does, it would be worth an extra point. So it would be worth 4 points in this case. Or if it had the word casa in it, so none of those do, but there's plenty of cards that do. In the advanced version of the game, which we definitely recommend, there's also going to be some cards down here as well. These are some kind of like randomly drawn cards that are must-see items throughout the city. And they all have a particular, we can't use that one, I'll explain why here in a minute. They all have a time of day that they look the best in. So for instance, you really want to be at the Observatory Fabra, I'm sorry I'm pronouncing all these wrong, at sunrise. Then at noontime you want to be at the Casa Galart, oh gosh, this one. And then, this at the sunset, you want to be over here. And then at the end of the day, you want to be over here. So we've got a little marker here that shows where we've been. Basically, we have to do these in order. These don't actually get you any points, but what they do is they allow other things to score. So for instance, these over here, these are worth 3 points apiece. But this says you can only score, you're basically scoring 0 until you move your pawn here, and then you're able to score at least 2 photos. Then if you go here, you can score up to 4 photos now, 6, and eventually if you get to there, you're able to score 8 photos, which is also the end game trigger. Once one person has 8 of those photos of the landscape, so from this pile over here, the game ends. So how does a turn work? Basically, you get a movement and then you get an action. So your movement, there's 2 ways to do that. One of them is just to move 2 spots. So we could, for instance, move 1, 2, and then if there was a spot we could do an action there, we could do an action. The other way you can do movement is there's a deck of cards here that are all movement cards. You can have us start the game with a hand of 3 of them that tell you a distance you can move. So for instance, if we discarded that 4, we could move 4 spots. 1, 2, 3, 4. So without using a card, you can move up to 2 spots, or if you're using a card, you can move whatever the number is on that card. You start the game with 3 of those cards, but you can get more. So now let's go over the action spots. So the first action spot, let's just talk about the one we're on. That little eye, that is where you go to redraw up those cards up to a hand of 3. Another thing you can do is you can land on one of the spots over here to take a picture. So for instance, if we played a card and moved a whole bunch over here to the 4, we'd be able to take that 4 orange and put that into our scoring area. And that card would immediately replenish. Another thing you can do is you can take the metro. So if you land on an M, your action space can be to land on any other M as your action. So you can do your 2 movement to get to the M, and then you could go up here for your actual action. We also have all these spots down here for the natural light. If we land on the next one in the sequence, like for instance in this case, that blue 1, we'd be able to go up on that track. There are also all these different Skyline Tiles all over the board. So if you land on one of the picture spots for those, you can take as an action whatever tile is associated with that spot. There's not enough of these tiles for every player to have, so it's really important that you kind of race to get the ones you want. Why are those important? At the beginning of the game, we were all dealt this little scoring tile here that shows a skyline of Barcelona, and it represents all 8 of those different tiles. What you're trying to do is you're trying to collect them in an order that combines as many of them as possible. The scoring for them is on the other side. So for instance, if you only got 1 of them, it would be worth 1 point. If you got 2 in a row, it would be worth 4 points. If you manage to get all 8 in the skyline, you're going to get 30 points, which is huge in this game. However, like I said, there's not enough for everybody to have, so it's very difficult to do. What's more likely going to happen is you're going to have maybe 2 in a row over here, then perhaps a break, and then 3 in a row over here, which would be worth a total of 4 points and 7 points for 11 points altogether. Now, Barcelona is a city known for having a ton of different dragons all throughout their town, in terms of architecture and art. So you're going to flip over a card. It's going to tell you where to put him. So we've got a blue flag. So we're going to put our dragon in the blue flag dragon spot. When you take a photo of that dragon where it's at in its lair, it kind of acts like a wild. You can either take one of the landmark photos, or you can take one of the skyline things, or you can take a landmark photo down here, go up on that track. Or the last thing you can do is you can actually discard all those cards and draw new ones that maybe work better for where you're at. The last thing I want to talk about is our camera, which is kind of our player board. We already kind of showed it to you, having the our starting location. This is also where we're going to have our secret skyline picture. But what it also shows is our little zoom magnifier. So just a kind of camera that can zoom in and out, we can zoom in and out to take photos. So for instance, if we were on that 2 purple there, and we really wanted to take a picture of that skyline token there, but we didn't have enough movement to get there, we could actually use our zoom to get there. So we get 3 zooms throughout the game. We have to use 2 points of zoom in order to take a picture 2 spots away to get that tile. So I think it's a perfectly named game. You're zooming in Barcelona, you're zooming around the board to take pictures, and then you're zooming in to take those photos, which I think is a pretty cool title, and it works really well with the mechanisms. So to wrap it all up with the scoring, remember you want to go up on this natural light track over here. They're not worth any points, but they allow you to score other points. So each one of these photos over here that you collect, they're worth 3 points apiece, and based off randomly what these tiles are, they could be worth more points, additional points, if they have those items included in those photos. You're also going to get points based off of your skyline and the tiles that you collect for that. And at the end of the game, whoever has the most points wins.
So I think that Zoom in Barcelona is really eye-catching. I really like the aesthetic of it, the artwork, and I like the contrast between the artwork and that your camera is just that black and white, but then the board is really pretty, the cards are really pretty, and it has that really nice contrast to it to where it's really eye-catching. And I know if I saw this game on a board, I would be interested in it.
Yeah, I think
the game is a board. If I saw it on a table, I would be interested.
I got you. I followed. I think that the pictures that you have to go to that have that pop the best during the daytime, the morning time, and then evening or whatever. I think having to go to those places in the correct order, and making sure that they are all over the board is just a really cool mechanism. And make sure that everyone is kind of spreads out. It's not like you're going to the same place and getting 3 or 4 in a row or whatever. Which you might be able to do that with the pictures themselves, but you don't get any picture points from the pictures unless you hit these particular pictures of those different daytime.
I really like how the skyline also encourages you to move around the board. There's not as many tokens as there are players. So there's always going to be a player who will not be able to accomplish the skyline on that. And that kind of encourages you to bounce around the board and try to cut things off or try to get things faster than other people. And if somebody got this one, that was in your 3rd spot, so maybe you should just start for the 4th on. And I just like how that also encourages you to move around the board and not just like follow just that one track if they're all in the same area.
I like how snappy this game is. How snappy the turns are. Well, no, like snappy, like snapshot.
That makes more sense.
So I think that the turns are just a really quick movement and then take an action sometimes. So I mean the turns are just lightning fast. Like lighting on a camera fast. Like flash photography.
Photography.
Yeah, but it's just I like how there's just those lightning fast turns. And it just goes by so fast. It says 30 to 60 minutes on the box. I don't even think, even with the full complement of players, it's going to take you 60 minutes. When we play our 2-player games, it's like 15 minutes. Yeah. They go really fast.
I also think that because of the theme of this game, because you're taking pictures and you're traveling around the city, I think it could appeal to people who aren't necessarily gamers too. And I really like when a game can do that, when a game can kind of break through that hobby and maybe reach other people who don't know that they're gamers yet. Because let's be real, that's what's really going on here. And I feel like this is a game that could do that. I feel like it could reach those people who like travel and who like photography. I think that they would be interested in it.
I think that's true, but at the same time, I don't want to make people think that this is a game is, it's too light for gamers,
Yeah.
or it's only for beginners or whatever. Just because a game is accessible and it's a gateway game doesn't mean it's not fun. Doesn't mean there's not cool things to do in this game. And I had a ton of fun playing this game. I like heavier games, but this still had a lot to it, and it was still really enjoyable. It just because it took 15 minutes doesn't mean those 15 minutes weren't full of fun decisions the entire time, beginning to end. So I really enjoyed Zoom in Barcelona. I thought this was a really clever game, very accessible, but still full of fun decisions, beautiful art, beautiful board setup. I think that this game is a lot of fun. I really enjoyed Zoo in Barcelona.
I think the strength to this game is the fact that it's making you move around the board. You could just go for those cards, but that's not going to do anything for you. And I just really like that the game encourages you to move around. It encourages you to go to all these different places, to use the different types of travel, and that the game really wants you to explore it, and it does a good job of getting you to explore that. So I really enjoyed this game. Well guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe so you can see our videos as they come out. You can also find us on Facebook under Ryan and Bethany Board Game Reviews. You can find us on Instagram under Ryan and Bethany. And lastly, you can chat with us on Twitter under Ryan and Bethany 1.
Everybody, thanks for watching. We will see you next time as we talk about more photography puns. A whole video of nothing but photography puns.
Okay, that's going to be like a solo game. Okay,
yeah.
Bye, guys.
All right, we're going to close this
Bye.
photo film.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.